You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. We are ready to go for another MinneZona show. Oh my gosh, I am so ready. And, you know, as always, without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
It is another wonderful Wednesday. I'm just so excited for the show tonight. It feels like it should be like 11 o'clock at midnight, 11 o'clock at night. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. All I know is we've got a great show lined up for tonight. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, the question, my question is, Voldy, is you can feel your arms, right? That's kind of the main thing here.
Feel them.
We love it. Oh my gosh. So anyway, this is kind of a different look here because the thing is, guys, is that the Curve Doctor's usually directing, but you know what we decided, zoners, is that we. I'm going to be doing most of the main shows, you know, but we're going to be doing special shows here coming up as well. And he will be here. It's not like he's gone. It's not like he's completely just gone. He is helping out and still like that. We're just switching things up. Matty C is going to be taking care of everybody else. So, hey, you know, we'll have some fun with this. But without further ado, Voldy, we got to get to some Tater Tot hot take because there are a lot of things we got to cover because Tater Tot hot take, it's not going to go the way that people think it's going to go because it's like, oh, maybe he's going to be talking about Vikings right now. Yeah, not really. That's not where we're going. Not this go around because we're actually talking about the Minnesota Twins. So, Voldy, let's get going with some Tater Tot hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Okay, so Voldy, we got to get to our Minnesota Twins. They're trying to make a playoff push here, and here's the thing, Voldy. We've seen this team through its ups, through its downs, through everything that you can think of. Okay.
Right.
Voldy, right now the Twins are a half game out of first place. The White Sox currently have first place rolling here, but it's kind of nice to know that they're taking on the Indians and we're taking on the Tigers, who just their manager, Ron Gardenhire, is gone. Gardy, we love Gardy. Yep. Absolutely love him. But here's the thing. Now, you know, Gardy's gone, and the Tigers really don't have a manager except for their interim. But, Voldy, let me ask you this. Now that the Twins are getting hot at the right time, obviously we're looking ahead to the postseason, and guess who they're playing? They're projected to play the New York Yankees. Of course, it has to be them for some reason. So, Voldy, how confident are you that the Twins can make a playoff run here, hopefully, fingers crossed?
Well, I mean, they've already clinched the postseason spot. I mean, the fact that that's a given, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about as much confidence I have in the Minnesota Twins right now. they haven't played the Yankees at all this year because of the 60-game season. I'm not really 100% confident in anything right now when it comes to the world of sports. Things could happen overnight and just completely derail the whole situation. That being said, that the Twins are the number 4 seed, and they take on, and as it currently stands right now, I mean, you still got the rest of this week. I mean, all the way to Sunday, they're going to be playing games. They finish up against Detroit tonight. Then they got a few more games. They play Cincinnati this week, and they've got tomorrow off, and then they play a 3-game set, I think, against Cincinnati to finish off the season, which is a very interesting way to finish off the year. But I don't know. Having the home field advantage, that's about the only guarantee that the Twins have right now, and they're hanging on to that too. So hopefully they handle their business tonight against Detroit, which they should have done last time. They just barely got that win last night in extra innings. But right now, I mean, this is a very interesting end of the year. They're peaking at the right time, and I'm really hoping that they can make enough of a run right now to maybe even sneak out with the division title.
And that's kind of the big thing here too, Voldy, is like what's going to happen with this team. There's only a couple games left here in the regular season, obviously with COVID and whatnot. But this team is showing some grit. And the thing is obviously we talked about Josh Donaldson last week, and that's what they need. They need a guy with attitude, and he's got that. He really does have that. Now, the question is can this continue with guys actually hitting the... I mean, Snow's been fantastic. Buxton has been fantastic. Kepler. I mean, this is what they're getting hot at the right moment, because the reason why we're starting off with this is because it's Tater Tot Hot Take. The Twins are hot. It's just piping hot. There's all these Tater Tots all around. But this is great for the Minnesota Twins. I am so stoked. But there's one thing that keeps me at bay a little bit, Voldy, is that right now they're projected to play the Yankees, and it's like, why does it have to be that way? Does this always have to happen? I am just sick of it, as Coach Hines likes to say. But Voldy, a big question now is, well, no matter if the Twins, it sounds like the Twins will be playing the Yankees, okay? But Voldy, who would you put on the mound Game 1 against the Yankees or whoever else? I mean, are we thinking Barrios? You've been very critical of Barrios as of late, Voldy.
No, I'm not putting Barrios on the mound Game 1. I'm going Kenta Maeda. I'm going with my horse Game 1. And then I'm going to go Game 2, Jose Barrios, just as a trap game right there. Remember, it's 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
It's not a 5-game, ALDS. No, it's best of 3. Then you move on to the champion, or no, I should say, it's a best of 3. Then you go to the ALDS, and then you go to the ALCS, which is not, which is a best of 7. But the ALDS is best of 5. Well, the wild card round, if you will, is a best of 3. So if Maeda doesn't get it done Game 1, then Game 2 you're kind of screwed. So I mean, you could really flip flop, but right off the bat, I'm going Game 1 to Kenta Maeda. He's the one that's proved himself all year.
Well, here's what I got for you, Voldy, and it's kind of one of those things where you got to ride the hot hand, and obviously Maeda's kind of been that guy this whole somewhat of a season in a way with all these games. But honestly, Maeda's been a guy that has been reliable. Has he had some rough ones? Sure. I mean, any pitcher at this point has probably had some rough games. I mean, obviously look at Jose Barrios, but as long as they can get out of the innings with guys like Trevor May, with guys like Sergio Romo. I mean, these guys have attitude, and this is what I love about the Twins, is having a little attitude with this team. And obviously, I wish they would have went and got some elite pitching, because it's like, well, if you have Kenta Maeda, okay, like that's fine. I'd feel better rather than Uber guy Randy Dobnak. But I like Dobnak, so I'm not saying that that's a knock or anything like that. But I would not start him Game 1, even if it's against the Yankees. I mean, oh my gosh. So anyway, Voldy, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, and obviously they before the season, and the Zoners can chime in here too, is that before the season, the Twins were talking about a World Series. Okay? And here's the time to show everybody that you can do that. That you have the ability to go out there and do that. Josh Donaldson, he's going to keep stepping up. Buxton, Sano, I mean, guys got to be healthy too, clearly.
Right.
But this team, I feel, is ready, to go. And this is great. I mean, they're getting hot at the right time. And obviously, they're a team that is going to do everything that they can to get by the Yankees this time. And I firmly believe that, because I am sick and tired of going into a series knowing that, oh, God, here we go, the Yankees, blah, blah, blah. But the Twins can't think that. It's like,
no.
The question is like, what about the history? What about this? What about that? It's like they already have that in their heads. They say that they don't, but they do. I mean, it's that simple, because you're taking on the Yankees. They can't do anything at Yankee Stadium. I mean, they just don't do well at Yankee Stadium. And the thing is what do they need to do to beat the Yankees? And honestly, it's you got to play well. You got to forget that they're the Yankees and just think that they're another team. I mean, Voldy, what do you think? Do you think that, do you have an idea of what the Twins need to do to get over the hump and beat New York?
They need to get into their bullpen. That's what I think is going to be the big key. The Twins get into the bullpen, they can, bite and scratch a little bit, claw at the starter a little bit, maybe rack up some pitch counts and get them out early. But, if they don't get into the bullpen, the Twins are goners. It's not going to be a very long. It's not going to be a good series for the Twins. They're able to get into the bullpen and work around some of those guys in the back half. They've got a serious chance. But compared to the other side, if the Yankees get to the Twins bullpen, especially late in the game, it's going to go towards the Yankees. But as long as the Twins can work pitchers early and often and rack up some pitch counts, they've got a pretty good shot.
I believe that too. And it's going to be interesting to see what guys like a Jake Cave, if he has to come in for a game or something like that. I mean, obviously there are people that do not like Jake Cave. Okay, I understand that. But the guy, he's produced somewhat too, because he's a guy that is not terrible. He's not a terrible player. It's just, the question is he's had some bad streaks too. But guys like that, I feel, need to step up, get some big hits that they desperately need, for one.
Right.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see if, guys like Taylor Rogers has had a rough go at it here too. So let's get him going. Let's hopefully, forget the fact that they're the Yankees. It's just another team. It's just another team. And they weren't prepared the last time that they played, obviously last year, because, again, they didn't have the right pitching. I mean, you had the Uber guy playing game 2, obviously with the injuries and things like that. You can't control that.
Right.
But again, the bat's got to be ready to go too. So let's think about this and say, okay, let's finish the season, and then let's get to the Yankees and see what happens after that, because I'm getting sick and tired of listening to the Yankees talk about, oh, it's just the Twins, we're just going to go right past them because that's how it is. But, again, we'll see what happens. I'm very, very confident and hopeful that they can win the division, too. So if they win the division, hey, all bets are off, right? They already got the playoff spot, so let's see what else that they can do here. And let's get rolling. So, Voldy, so we just got done with our Twins talk, and obviously, Zoners, chime in your thoughts on the Twins. And obviously, Voldy, I think some of our Zoners don't really like your Giants stuff going on.
Yeah, that's a matter of opinion, but, opinions are like, like everybody. Everybody's got one, and they all stink.
One person that does like that a lot, though, Voldy, is Coach Payne.
Oh, yeah? T-Pain.
T-Pain. We got to we got to show him that at some point. But anyway. Oh, yeah, for sure. So anyway, Voldy, let's move on to our Zona Week 2 NFL picks. So, recap here. Obviously, the Thursday night game, we didn't get it in right away, but Voldy and I picked Cincinnati, and really, that didn't go well because the Browns won. Yeah, the Browns won, for goodness sake.
Good for them. Good for Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, we're happy with Kevin Stefanski. We'll take it.
Hey, that's
so
a
good for
quality
him.
loss for a BCS team. College Football Playoff Committee is looking at that as a quality loss for us.
There you go. That's a good one. All right, the next game, the LA Rams beat the Philadelphia Eagles. We both got that game, so we're good on that. And then the Buffalo Bills, they took on the Miami Dolphins. Yep. Right on that. Pittsburgh, right on that one, obviously. Almost lost that one because Jeff Driscoll came in, but okay. Driscoll. All right, then Tampa Bay. Hey, look at Tampa Bay. Voldy, what are your thoughts on their first win? TFB gets its first win as a Buccaneer.
It was a quality victory overall. We're on to week 3.
We are on to Cincinnati, but anyway, it's gonna be sweet. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their first win, and then Dallas. Holy crap! They were down, but then the Atlanta Falcons happened again. Voldy, they blew it. They had their chance and they blew it.
Oh, man, they were talking about in that game, too. Largest lead that they've blown since Super Bowl 51. 28-3. Come on. Thank you, though.
I mean, honestly, who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Which is crazy. All right, so moving on to our next one, we got Tennessee with it was a close win. It was a close win. I thought, they got the Vikings coming out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you and I both had Tennessee. Green Bay, I mean, Aaron Jones went off. I mean, it's good for your fantasy team, right, Voldy?
Absolutely. I'll take those 44 fantasy points any day.
Yeah, exactly. If you have PPR, that's the way to go, zoners. All right. And then San Francisco, they get the win, but they lose, let's see, Jimmy G. They lose not Joey Bosa. Oh, my gosh. Nick Bosa. Yes, thank you. Nick Bosa. I mean, they lost almost their whole team. George Kittle hasn't been playing either. Oh, my goodness. But they beat the Jets, so it's the Jets. So, whatever. This game, we're going to get more into this game because obviously the Colts beat the Vikings. We both picked Minnesota.
We did.
I'm going to get into that for Callahan School of Logic next, so I'm gonna wait to give my analysis for that.
Let that one simmer a little bit for you.
Yeah, it's gonna simmer. We're gonna put it on, a grill, and we're gonna let it serenade a little bit. All right. So Voldy, I picked the New York Giants, and you picked the Chicago Bears. Daniel Jones almost got the dub. I mean, they almost did, but the Bears come away with another win, which is crazy. I mean, it's like huge. The Bears. So, yeah. Then we got Arizona with another. I mean, wow, Arizona's 2-0, Voldy, which is just crazy to think about as well. Kyler Murray's been playing really well. Then we got Baltimore. Baltimore with another big win, obviously. And then we have Kansas City, who, they had trouble with the Chargers. Justin Herbert comes into the game and almost, they took him to overtime. Patrick Mahomes gets it done, though, because, it's Patrick Mahomes.
The Chiefs always have trouble playing against the Chargers for some reason, and it showed.
That's the thing. It really showed, and it'll be interesting to see when their next matchup is. It's gonna be interesting. All right, Seattle barely with the win. Voldy, Cam Newton just couldn't get it done at the 1 yard line. He had a great game though. I mean, no question about it. So how are you feeling?
Quality loss for the Patriots. I mean, I'm not mad about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts, though, Voldy? What do you think?
I mean, it was a back and forth game. Both teams had their opportunities. Seattle just got the great play at the right time. A very questionable call there at the end. I mean, 3rd and goal had a pretty good opportunity. Somehow didn't get in, but I mean, overall, I'm not. I mean, I was mad for like 10 seconds as the Patriots didn't win, but looking at it overall, it's like, look, they weren't even predicted to be remotely close in the first place, and traded points with them, and that's what I said too. That the Patriots are going to have to do that this year. They're going to have to score 30, 40 points a game in order to make it feasible, and they lost 35-30. So I mean, that's just how it's going to be this year.
That's just how it's going to be. But you know what? There's a lot of season left, which, I'm going to be getting into here in a second. All right, and then our last game, Voldy. The New Orleans Ants lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, that is just fantastic.
Raiders, baby.
Exactly. I mean, it's nice because, I don't like the Ants. And they lost. Right. Drew Brees wasn't that good. No Michael Thomas, obviously. But yeah, it's just great. John Gruden, man, he gets the win on Monday Night Football, man. I knew he's gonna do it. But anyway, we're pretty happy about that. And for instance, our picks results, went really well for the most part. We had a lot of the same picks. I think there was only one game that we were different on because I felt the Giants were gonna beat the Bears. It was close, but again. Close, but no cigar.
No Saquon for the rest of the year, so, I mean, that's going to be a difference maker.
That is going to be a difference maker, so we'll see what happens with that. So, anyway, that will do it for Tater Tot Hot Take. We'll get our picks at some point tomorrow. We'll get it rolling so then all the zoners can see. And, again, you guys can give your picks as well because why the heck not, as the Kerf Doctor likes to say. All right, so... we got to get to Callahan School of Logic. And you probably knew that I was going to go there with talking about the Minnesota Vikings because it's, we got to talk about some things. It hasn't been good for the Purple and Callahan School of Logic. I'm going to, educate some things, and obviously I'm going to give my feelings on how these two games have gone. So let's get it rolling with some Callahan School of Logic.
Class is in session. You're enrolled in Callahan's School of Logic.
All right. So anyway, you are enrolled in Callahan School of Logic. Here's one thing I want to bring up. Obviously, the Vikings didn't have the best game. And there's some things that we need to address. And obviously, these two games, it's so weird to see a team like Minnesota lose games because of, bad defense. Last week was bad quarterback play by Kirk. And, I like Kirk, okay? But Kirk, you gotta get it done, man. Offensive line, or corners. They're young corners. We knew there'd be growing pains, and I'm going to get into that as well. But this is something that the Vikings have. We thought the Vikings were going to come into this, not as good as we thought, but this has been bad. And there's been the Vikings' history has, if starting 0-2 hasn't been favorable for the Vikings. They've only had a mediocre end to the season. There's been a end of some seasons back in their history, but I'm not going to talk about that because I want to get to all the problems that has happened the past couple weeks. And for one, Voldy, the big thing is we've been talking about this for years now. The offensive line. And I'm going to read off some stats as I have my second laptop over here. And it's showing how bad the pass block grades for the Minnesota Vikings. Riley Reif was actually pretty good. He was a 75.3 on the left side, which is actually not bad. So we're happy with that. Dakota Dozier, 25.1. That's like a 40-point drop or whatever it is. I'm bad with math. Close enough. Maybe even 50. Then the big thing is that he let up 3 pressures and a sack. Garrett Bradbury, 77.2, probably one of our best O-linemen right now. Drew Samia. A lot of people were clamoring about Drew Samia, and he was not good. 22.1, he let up 5 pressures and a couple sacks. Obviously, you're going up against some tough opponents, and especially with DeForest Buckner. I mean, DeForest Buckner was unreal. Absolutely unreal. And again, you've put in Drew Samia. People were saying, why don't we put in Drew Samia? And I think the Vikings knew, for one, that Drew Samia is not who you think he is, which is sad because I was really hoping he would do well with Minnesota. So there's that. The O-line has been a problem. Why haven't the Vikings addressed this is something that I'm even scratching my head on. And you put in all this money into, defense. You trade for Yannick Ngakoue. You add some more depth, with some wide receivers and things like that. You trade Stephon to get more picks. Then you go after corners. But, I mean, there's a rare veteran presence in the defensive back, besides Anthony Harris, besides Harrison Smith. And the thing is that I don't know why this hasn't been addressed. And the one thing, too, is Rick Dennison's supposed to be the guru here, offensive line guru. I haven't seen improvement. Elfline struggle, too. And honestly, I'd rather have Elfline in there right now after that performance I saw from Samia. So I don't know what the disconnect is, and I really want to question Spielman and Zimmer on this front because our guard play has been awful, and it was awful this past Sunday. And it better turn around quick because you're going up against the Tennessee Titans, and they have a good front four. They have Jadeveon Clowney, Sir Riley Reef, and obviously Brian O'Neill's been doing a pretty good job too. But they're going to do some stunts. They're going to try and, get to the guards because they know that's the weak part of the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings. So we got to put that into perspective as well. And another thing here too, I mean, the talent's there. The talent's there, Voldy and Zoners. The talent is there for this team. The question is, when is it going to happen? Is it going to click this upcoming Sunday? In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, things like that? I don't know. That's the question. I have no idea. Because I don't know if it's just they're not. I think they are motivated. They want to be better. But honestly, there's got to be some good coaching. There's got to be some good coaching going on here too. So, Rick Dennison, you got to figure out what to do with this offensive line. And this is, again, I'm no NFL coach, okay? I'm no NFL coach, but honestly, from what I've been seeing is that some of these guys, there are easy fixes, but there are some fixes that you got to bring in some guys that know how to block, right? So offensive line is the big thing here. And honestly, I can't believe that some of this, people are saying, well, it's the offensive line. It's like, no, it is everything right now with the Minnesota Vikings. So my next point here too, Voldy, is we knew there were going to be some growing pains in the secondary, but we didn't know it'd be this bad these past couple games. And it's something that's interesting to me. And Seymour chimed in here too. As a Titans fan, we don't have much of a pass rush. Very little sacks in the last 2 games. Maybe this is their time to shine. Too. I mean, I don't disagree with you, Seymour. I think the one thing that we need to put into perspective is that, they can take advantage of this offensive line, too. But let's see what happens. If they haven't gotten a pass rush yet, maybe this is, a good thing for the Vikings. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. So, going back to the secondary, there's been some penalties. There's been some guys that, are still learning. Gladney, Hill's got to get going here because Holton Hill, Mike Hughes, Dantzler was out with an injury, right? But the fact of the matter is that they got to grow up a little bit more because teams are exposing the secondary right now. These wide receivers are burning these guys right now. And the thing is the Colts didn't really play that well this past Sunday. They really didn't. And we didn't take advantage of that, which is sad. It's sad. And then also, too, we got to remember that the D-backs, Harrison has done a good job. Anthony Harris has done good. But, again, we got to see what they can do going up against a really good team in the Tennessee Titans. And we got some more Zoner comments. People forget that the Vikings have played the Packers and the Colts, two really good teams. And I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I just think, for one, that the Packers are a good team. And I will say that because, as obviously, some people know that, you're a Vikings fan, you should hate the Packers. I do. But they are good. They beat us. Just saying. But then again, we got to put that into perspective. And then Mama Callahan, even though I'm pretty sure it's Papa Callahan saying this, I think the D-line and D-backs make an ordinary Colts team into a team of Pro Bowlers. Exactly. I mean, Xavier had a pass breakup, even though, and I will say that Xavier was holding Thielen on that pass play, which there should have been a flag. And honestly, I was watching the game with the Kerf doctor, and that was a C. They had the C players for the refs, and a C broadcast team. I mean, it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good from any perspective. But exactly, I mean, we made them. They weren't that good. So, but the D-backs got to grow up a little bit more. Now, my next one and my final one that I want to bring up: defensive line. Where the hell have you guys been? I mean, Jaleel Johnson, Shamar Stephen, the interior. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's going right past you guys. Get off your blocks. I understand that the Colts' offensive line's really good. Quentin Nelson, Glowinski, guys like that. I understand that. But you guys need to get off your blocks. You guys need to step up. Yannick Ngakoue finally got a sack. That's great. We need to have more. Ifadi, we need you to help out a little bit, too. We got to get pressure. We got to hit the quarterback. Because Aaron Rodgers had too much time. Philip Rivers at times had too much time. And you should be feasting on that with Philip Rivers. Yannick Ngakoue took advantage of it, but what the hell happened? There wasn't any more. And then Bard being hurt, that hurts, too. But the Vikings are 0-2, but things need to improve in this next game. And the thing is I'm not ready to throw the white flag or bring up the white flag just yet. And yeah, Seymour saying right now too, the D-line production is currently on the IR at the moment. It's true. And obviously missing guys like Michael Pierce who opted out as well. So the logic here, folks, is that don't throw, if you're a Viking fan, Zoners, all the Zoner Viking fans, if you're thinking of throwing in the towel right now, I understand. It's frustrating. Okay? It's very frustrating. And I understand you want to point fingers at people and everything like that, but what it comes down to is these guys got to show up and play. They got to take on teams that, yeah, they might be better, but honestly, let's see some improvement on the defensive line, offensive line, things like that. So the Vikings organization, they got to figure it out because right now they're in trouble and fans are losing faith. So the logic in this is don't throw in the towel just yet. Let's see how the next couple games progresses. And do I think things can turn around? Sure. I think they're correctable mistakes. I really do. Kirk is another, that last game was bad. And Kirk should have played better too. I understand that. But at the same time, wide receivers got to catch too. Thielen had a drop. BC, we got to see what happens. So, Voldy, what do you think? I know it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is a lot to unpack. I mean, week 1, Vikings got beat by the pass. Week 2, Vikings got beat on the run, and, well, it is what it is with that. Looking at everything as a whole, yeah, offensive line, they struggled. Hard to get a run game going, hard to protect your quarterback when the line isn't playing all that well to begin with. You know, like we've been talking about, the talent is there. There's a lot of promising young guys, but, you know, they need to show up right now, and they haven't. It, like Seymour brought up, 2 really good teams to start off. It's not going to get any much easier, especially going up against defensively, you know, the Vikings going defensively against Ryan Tannehill and the likes of Derrick Henry. It's not, and we've been talking about it too. I mean, this is one thing that we've been talking about the first, you know, even last week brought it up. First 4 games of the season, it's the preseason basically. You're working out so many kinks. It's ridiculous the fact that, you know, the Vikings are 0-2. It stinks, but at the same time, they're shaking out all that rust, hence all the injuries, which we'll talk about even more coming up here in the near future with, you know, with absurd or approved. But from the Vikings perspective, haven't been able to get off, you know, blocks defensive line as well. 2 really good offensive lines. Green Bay's always had a good offensive line. And, you know, for Indianapolis, 35 straight games, they've had the same starting 5 guys. It's as great of a problem as you can have, the same starting, you know, offensive line to help your quarterback get comfortable and just enjoy the benefits out of it. But what I don't understand is why is it, you know, if the Vikings could win a game based on the first drive of each game, Vikings would be 2-0, flat out, plain and simple. It's not working overall. Kirk Cousins, again, hasn't had a whole lot of time. Then they're playing from behind, and they're just trying to find whoever's open. More times than not, that's going to be Adam Thielen. Got to be able to work in some of these other guys to the fact that, you know, the defense is going to be looking out for Adam Thielen all the time. Need to find these guys. B.C. Johnson, Tajay Sharp's been a complete no-show to start off, mostly because he hadn't been on the field. The receiving core, Jet Jefferson, you know, he's a guy that's had some nice catches here and there. But, again, Vikings have been playing catch-up the whole time. But there's just a lot of things early on this season that are just not meshing well together. And, well, it's just going to have to be one of those just ride it out and see.
And I'm with you, and that's the thing, Voldy, is that it's kind of one of those, right? But don't throw in the towel just yet, because I'm not ready to. I think that they can get going here. And, you know, we got Zoners chiming in as well. With, you know, Jack has been on here and saying, you know, his Niners, you know, lost so many critical players in week 2. It was a win, but the cost was so high, you know, and that's kind of the big thing is. And Seymour was saying, like, if you didn't have many major injuries, then you've won, right? So, I mean, it's something, it's so, you know, obviously it's bad because, honestly, I think people are getting bored with the fact that they keep losing. And you know, Jack is saying right here, too, it's a completely different season now. Mama Callahan and Papa Callahan saying Jefferson needs to make a statement, and let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get him the ball. Gary Kubiak, I'm challenging you. Let's get it going so that, you know, the Vikings can get back to where we expect them to be. And again, I remember when the Vikings were 2-2 with Case Keenum. How did that turn out? We went 13-3, didn't we? I mean, exactly. I mean, just think about that for a minute there. So, but anyway, I think, you know, we've talked about it a lot, and we got to see some changes. We got to see some changes on Sunday, and they got to be ready to go because we might, you know, people are going to, the pitchforks. I mean, obviously, people have the pitchforks right now. If you look at Vikings Twitter, Voldy, there are a lot of people that are pretty PO'd. Curve Doctor just showed up, and he, you know, this is something that, you know, we're frustrated with as well. And obviously, there's more lighting here. The Curve Doctor came through in the clutch for us and whatnot. So Curve Doctor is here. There's the Curve Doctor. And again, you know, we're ready to go. So anyway, we got to get to the Zoner's favorite segment, my favorite segment, Voldy's favorite segment, the Curve Doctor's favorite segment. It's called absurd, or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, so it's time for ARA. So, Voldy, I'm going to send it off to you. Why don't you rattle off for us, please?
All right, well, we start off ARA this week. A little something that got some people's feathers ruffled a little bit late last week. Looked like Josh Donaldson made a statement in a big way this past Thursday in a loss, unfortunately, against the Chicago White Sox 4-3. But he left in style after hitting a home run, crossing home plate, kicking dirt on his way across home plate, then getting thrown out of the game as a means of, saying that the umpire wasn't doing his job. That's certainly one way to make a statement overall. Then 2 days later, after being ejected, goes on with a bit of, press conference, media availability, saying that the umpires don't care, have no accountability for their job as well, especially the fact that, this season alone, some guys' careers are changing, and you're taking a big impact with the shortened season. And when the umpires, I should say, kind of inject themselves a little bit, does make a bit of a difference for the fact that, not exactly the best way to, make friends with Josh Donaldson. Absurd or approved Josh Donaldson's comments on the umpiring.
Well, when I was taught, obviously, arguing with the umps, people discourage. But the thing is that, honestly, everybody yells at the umps. And a lot of people like to put the blame at the umps. And honestly, I was listening to some people talk about it specifically. And the thing is, the MLB doesn't really have a specific, I feel like the umpires haven't been held accountable for some of this. And the thing is that Josh Donaldson was trying to make a statement. Yes, he kicked, dirt onto onto home plate and everything like that. But honestly, for the Twins' sake, I loved it, to be honest with you. And some people think it's like, that's kind of dumb, like why in the world would you do something like that, yada, yada, yada. And it just doesn't make sense to me why some people think like, hey, you should, that's the strike. Well, on it, like there's some pitches, for instance, if it's not even close to the strike zone and then you call a strike three, the umpires are never held accountable. It's got my stamp of approval, Voldy, because it's kind of one of those things where we have to understand that some of these umpires need to be held accountable. And sometimes they have a good reason, like, sometimes they're right on some calls. But at the same time, they're not on the same page on some things too. So it's got my stamp of approval because I think there needs to be a structure within the MLB. Will it change? I don't think so because honestly, they're fine with what they got. And if there's more players that talk about it, then things might be changed. But it's got my stamp of approval. I really think Donaldson is really sending a message saying like they should be, And again, it's showing some grit, which a lot of the Twins obviously are known for that, right? So, but anyway, it's got my stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
Absolutely, this has got my stamp of approval. For too long, the Twins have been the nice guys of baseball. We need to get mean. We need to piss people off. We need to fight. We need to literally go out there and fight every game because I'm sick and tired of the Twins always getting trounced in the postseason, and this is the way they do it. They need to break all the unwritten rules of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
They need to go out there and they need to put their foot on some guys' throats and dance all over their faces. Josh Donaldson is going to be the key to breaking the stigma of Minnesota nice because for too long it's been like that. And, the clean cut, clean shaven guys, the Kadires, the Mornos, the Malwares, those guys. Sure, they got it done, but when it came to the postseason, they didn't get anything. Josh Donaldson's been to the postseason before.
Right.
He's won an AL MVP as a two-hitter for the Toronto Blue Jays, one of the more nasty teams that made the postseason. They didn't make a lot of friends out on the field. They had some on-field incidents back in 2015, and it worked. This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and I think this could be the big part for the Twins to propel themselves into the next direction. Now, looking at the situation overall, I had no problem with it. Josh Donaldson is definitely never one to mince words.
Right.
He's had his own opinions on, hitting techniques and umpiring as well. Just so happened, after, being called a strike on a close pitch inside, next pitch, he takes it out of the yard. And he lets the umpire know his own way. And, he had to pay the price. Twins could have used him the later half of that ball game that they ended up losing and quite possibly cost the division. But you know what? I have no problem with it. I'm sure he has no problem with it. Everybody's going to just have to live with it.
Yep. Sorry, not sorry, as we will say here. So, yeah, both stamps of approval. Zoners, what do you think of what Donaldson said and obviously his actions? There were some people that didn't like it, but I think the majority of Twins fans loved it. So, again, it's fine with me. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we go back to the NFL ranks and something that we've been kind of alluding to here throughout this show. Week 2 was a bad week for a lot of teams in the NFL.
Big time.
So many injuries for a lot of teams. And we're going to take a little bit of a different spin here with ARA for at least this story overall. Looking at the amount of injuries that happened, a lot of top-name players, a lot of key contributors, a lot of teams. Who do you think out of this lot of teams that got some significant injuries, is going to detract a lot from this, is going to be hurt by a lot of these injuries, and also who could quite possibly benefit from these injuries and rise above some of these key players getting hurt?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And, Voldy, I think you and I talked about this. There should have been a preseason.
Should have been.
And the thing is I think that's what's affected it. And it's frustrating to me because I feel like they need to get some game action before. And obviously, I don't think it's a direct result because injuries happen. We all know that. But there are too many right now, especially in Week 2. I think Week 2 is a freaking plague or something like that. I mean, it's just, It's not good. And it obviously, it's frustrating. And for one, I'm one to say, like, hey, listen, some people, like, oh, I hate the preseason. It's like, well, there's got to be something. There has to be something. Because there are so many issues when it comes to, guys being prepared and things like that. Not saying, like, Saquon or Nick Bosa or, Drew Lock, guys that went to Anthony Barr, for instance. I'm not saying that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. All I'm saying is that a lot of these fields, too, I mean, apparently in New York, it's not good over at MetLife for some reason because there's been a lot of injuries there. And Giants players, or not Giants players, but 49ers players are complaining and scared that they might tear their ACLs or something like that. And, Bosa's one of those guys that did. And, Saquon at Soldier Field, that grass is bad, too. I mean, it's not a place that you want to. And, I feel bad for Saquon because he's one hell of a player. But I really think this is going to hurt the 49ers, Voldy. And, it's absurd that there's that many injuries. It really is. And I think the Giants aren't going to benefit from it because that's pretty much their offense right there. Now they have to rely on the arm of Daniel Jones. Yes, they signed Devontae Freeman not too long ago. But, again, there's so many, especially, the Broncos, it's not going to benefit them too much. I mean, obviously, he's going to be back in a couple weeks, but it's crazy. And, we feel for those teams, and it's absurd. But, Jack's got something here, too. I mean, we lost 2 guys to ACL tears last week. Any more, we're going to have to start the cheerleaders on the D-line. Oh, my gosh, it's crazy. And then, Seymour, he's got something lined up here. What's this? Stats show that there are higher rates of ACL tears on artificial turf in comparison to grass fields. Well, right. I mean,
there's
it's
no give with an artificial surface.
Yeah.
At least with a natural field, there's a little bit more give than you would think.
Exactly, and it's concerning. It really is concerning to me because there's so many of these players that are getting hurt, and that we don't want that. We want to have the stars out there and playing and things like that. But I'm not saying this is a direct result of them not playing a preseason. I think there's a lot of factors into it, but again, in my opinion, they should have had at least 2 preseason games. And yes, we understand COVID-19 and everything like that. You're concerned about it. Well, honestly, everybody's concerned about it now. But you guys did the NFL's done a really good job of testing and everything like that. So why don't we, go from there and see what happens and try something like that? So then we don't have all these injuries. I mean, Anthony Barr, for instance, Voldy. I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, it's absurd, and it's absurd that there's that many. But Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously the big hurt, of course, is the fact that San Francisco lost a starting running back, starting defensive end, and a starting quarterback all within the same game overall. I mean, there's just a big hurt right there. I'd also throw in Denver as well. Drew Lock is the quarterback of the future for that franchise overall, and you also lose Cortland Sutton, who's been banged up ever since week 1 for them too. That's also going to be a big hurt, especially the fact that they're playing in the same division as the defending Super Bowl champs. Not a good start for either of those teams. But another team that's out of the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers, have a very interesting situation. Starting quarterback going into the year, Anthony Lynn did say that it was going to be Tyrod time. It was the Tyrod Taylor show to start off for week 1. Sure, interesting start for him. He's been a guy that's been a backup and maybe a couple spot starts here and there. Hasn't really been able to put it all together. Then he gets hurt in the game last week and, thought maybe it was going to be good to go. Turns out that apparently the Chargers trying to sabotage themselves by, popping a rib out of place and trying to puncture a lung all at the same time. That's crazy. And he's out. Hey, we got this rookie. We got this guy, Justin Herbert, a guy that they drafted very high on him. He almost beats the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, if anything, out of that injury with Tyrod Taylor, because especially in the ribs area, kind of need those to be a quarterback. And where you're going to hit more times than not, you're going to get hit in the ribs. And, well, I think the Chargers may benefit from Tyrod Taylor getting hurt. But obviously the big one, San Francisco, I mean, the defending NFC champions, losing 3 guys that, were the reason they were in the Super Bowl last year to, significant injuries. It's not going to help them. They're the ones that are hurt the most by this.
Exactly, and it's frustrating to see it, but again, what can you do? I mean, the guys wanted to play, and sometimes this happens. And the thing is, you got to come back stronger, and hopefully, COVID is, knock on wood, a thing of the past here. Hopefully,
Hoping so.
We're trying to remain optimistic at this point. So, So we'll see. But anyway, moving on to our next one, Voldy.
Well, this one we go to the National Football League and the Hall of Fame, as this past week the NFL did announce first-year player eligible for the Hall of Fame, and some pretty noteworthy guys made the first year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame for Canton, and a lot of familiar names, maybe some guys you probably heard of. Peyton Manning, Steven Jackson, running back, wide receivers Calvin Johnson, Wes Welker, Roddy White, tight end Heath Miller, offensive lineman D'Brickashaw Ferguson, Logan Mankins, defensive lineman Jared Allen, Justin Tuck, Kevin Williams as well, one half of the Williams wall, linebacker Gerard Mayo, defensive backs Charles Tillman and Charles Woodson. Just some of the guys that are first year eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now, my question is, out of that list of guys that are first year eligible, who gets into the Hall of Fame this year?
Man, I'd probably say Woodson. If I were a betting man, and then Peyton, I think's one. I mean, I would really like to see Kevin Williams because honestly, I feel like he's a guy that people forget about a lot too. He was part of the Williams wall. Him and Pat Williams were fantastic. But another name that is really interesting to me, and also this the name that you mentioned not too long, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. I mean, what a name! My dad or Papa Callahan loved that name for so. He's a DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Oh, it's just a great name. So he's probably tuning into this, probably thinking, "Oh yeah, DeBrickashaw Ferguson." But I don't think he'll be first ballot. Which again, if he makes it, I'd be like, heck yeah. I'm fine with guys like Jared Allen. I could see just from a Vikings perspective, but Jared Allen I think would be an interesting one too. But yeah, Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning, those guys. Gerard Mayo, I think, is another guy that's kind of flying under the radar here too. I mean, there's so many good ones in that for it. So it's first of all, it's got my stamp of approval. The thing is like, well, who are you gonna put in? Is the next question, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm looking at too. I mean, it's interesting to see, how this is coming about. I mean, Megatron, for one, Voldy. Megatron is on this list as well, which is just, oh my gosh. You could put him in right. Obviously, he hasn't stayed. Tom Flores, I'm looking at it right. Drew Pearson, I'm glad that he got it because obviously he was pretty devastated the year before and whatnot. But, I mean, it's nice to see, him be into that. Obviously, it was a push-off against the Vikings, but he thinks that it wasn't. I saw that interview, but he is wrong on that. But, all, obviously, claps to him. We wish him nothing but the best. But, yeah, that's kind of who I got. Voldy, who do you got?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be Peyton. I think he's a guy that he's got the greatest shot, I think, of getting in first year. Charles Woodson, I definitely put in as 2. Obviously we all want to see Jared Allen in that fantastic speech in Canton, Ohio, that he would probably come up.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Williams is a guy that's kind of, right on the radar there. I don't know. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Logan Mankins, guys that played very long in the NFL, played on some really good teams. Well, I mean, DeBrickashaw Ferguson finished off his career with the Jets, so maybe not that great of a career, but guys that stayed healthy, guys that contributed quite a lot. Steven Jackson was a horse.
Yeah.
When he was in his heyday. Played for some bad Rams teams, I'll say. Did play with the Patriots for a hot second, though, so that's always good, too. I mean, as a guy who may not get in first year, but I hope that he gets in, Wes Welker. Wes Welker is a guy who, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he kind of changed the way that, that teams go after wide receivers. Not these always the 6'4", 6'5", 225-pound studs that run a 4.40 or what have you. I don't know what's fast anymore, but these guys that just get up and down the field in a flash. No, Wes Welker was a possession guy. 100 catches each year. He'll get you a first down. If it's 3rd down and 10, he'll get you 11 yards. He'll get you those, little seam routes across the middle and, maybe take a hit or two. He was the guy that kind of really pushed that in that direction, at least that we know from our perspective overall. So if he gets in the Hall of Fame, it'll definitely be well-deserved from his contribution to the game as well.
Well, I think Jack's agreeing with you. But who wouldn't agree with the Wes Welker one? Giselle. I don't think Giselle would like that. Obviously,
yeah, there's still a little animosity.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know why she's getting all up in arms about it. But anyway, I think Welker should be in. I think he was fantastic. The amount of hits that he took, though, too. I mean, he got beat up big time. Yeah, concussions, his ankle, his leg. I mean, you name it. But again, yeah, guys like that, and Drew Bledsoe, another guy. Possibly, and I don't think he'll go in right away, but we'll see. I don't know. I've been proven wrong before, so
True.
yeah. So Voldy, why don't we move on to the next one?
Yes, our next one here, as it was announced yesterday, the next head football coach at Jackson State University, Deion Primetime Sanders. A complete out of left field, as they did announce yesterday, and of course the Deion Sanders announced it over the weekend that he was becoming the new head football coach at Jackson State. Now, my question is, sort of approve Deion Sanders going back to school?
Stamp of approval, Deion going back to coach. And, honestly, I don't know how he will be as a coach. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that in a negative way, because I think he's got a really good coaching staff. He's got T.O. He's got... give me another name, Voldy. Who else is on there?
Warren Sapp.
I mean, guys like that. He's finally back into the fold on things. So, yeah, I mean, Deion's a guy that does everything. I mean, for goodness sake, he's with Barstool Sports, and then he's coaching. I don't know what's going to happen now since he's the coach, but I don't think you want... I'm not, not trying to diss on, Barstool Sports, because I think they got great content. But, I don't know how that will work out, but Deion, I think, deserves this opportunity because, again, it's not like he's at a big, high, a huge university let's just say like Michigan. Obviously, he wouldn't go there, or Florida State, or universities like that. And I'm excited to see what they do, and it's got my stamp of approval 100%. But primetime coach, and if things start getting kind of with the Vikings, maybe Zim would help him out or something like that. But no, Zim will probably stay in the NFL, and we love Zim. But again, they're good friends. So yeah, Voldy, stamp of approval. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a couple interviews now with Deion Sanders and why he decided to become a head football coach. I mean, he was offensive coordinator at the high school his two sons were playing at in Texas and whatever. And, he's trying to break the mold, of course, these big time universities, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Florida States. He's trying to build that with Jackson State, HBCU, historically black college and university. I mean, that's kind of the thing that's happened as of late. You've seen some of these top athletes choose the HBCU over the big-time universities, which is, they're trying to make something for themselves while bringing light to the fact that, there's a lot of great athletes that come out of some of these universities and these colleges that don't get that limelight as well. I think it's a great move. It's got my stamp of approval. He's going to surround himself with guys that got the job done in their, in their playing days as well. Let's see how the coaching side does for him. I mean, he was an offensive coordinator when coaching his kids. Be very interesting to see what kind of side he kind of leans to. Is he going to be more of a defensive guy because he was a defensive back, or he did play a little wide receiver in college and a couple times in the NFL? See which way he's going to go, but it's got my stamp of approval.
I'm just wondering how T.O. is going to do with the wide receivers. And I think he'll be really good. But the thing is I don't know. We'll see what happens with T.O. It'll be intriguing. I think Warren Sapp would be great. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, it's one of those things where, Jackson State, you want to go to that school now because it's Deion Sanders. He's coaching. You want to learn from that. So I think, they definitely got an advantage with Deion coaching the team. So, yeah, stamp of approval all around for that one. But it's interesting to me because Deion is a guy that is, he can be controversial, but again, he is a good he's not what he was back in the day, but now we can, look at Deion and say, hey, check it out. Deion's going to be a coach. He's going to be good. I think he's going to be good. So, yeah, stamp of approval all around. So, anyway, next or last one, Voldy.
Yeah, we got go right back to Major League Baseball here for our last one. And very interesting situation, of course, with the postseason just around the corner. World Series going to be played at the new ballpark in Arlington in Texas. And Major League Baseball did, reconfirm for a whole second time that the way it's going to work for home field advantage in the World Series is based on the higher seed, not how your season turned out. Now, looking here at some of the numbers overall, the higher-seeded team reaching the World Series will have the last at-bat, so basically they're going to be the home team.
Yeah.
Games 1 and 2, and if necessary, games 6 and 7, not necessarily the team with the best record. Because that's how it's kind of working out this year, especially with how the playoffs lay out, the top 8 seeds or whatever. If you had a bad winning percentage but won your division, you get a better seed than the team that had finished second in your division but ended up with as like the number 5 seed or whatever. It's a very interesting situation. In a normal year, it'd just be whoever, it used to be whoever won the All-Star game. If you're an American League team, the AL won the All-Star game, then you would be the home team. But, of course, nothing is making sense here with this postseason overall and going into it as well.
Sure.
Absurd to approve Major League Baseball's plans for the home team in the World Series.
I've looked at this, and it's very interesting to me. And the reason why I say that is because the seeding, not record thing is like who will determine who bats in this year's Neutral Site World Series. The specification was contained in July 23rd agreement between Major League Baseball Association. Obviously, with COVID happening, I mean, this changes a lot of things. I think it's got my stamp of approval because it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, what do you do? Because they don't have an all-star game to determine, is it the NL team or is it going to be the AL team, things like that. But
right.
It's something that they have to come up with on the fly. And it's, COVID-19 and things like that. They've had some dumb ideas in the past, as we said a lot on this show. But in my humble opinion, I think that they can, it's fine with me. I don't see anything that's too off with this. But I think it's going to work. It's going to be weird. It's been weird with the NFL just seeing little to no fans and everything like that. But, they just got to make best of the situation. And, I think, it's got my stamp of approval. They can put, together what they want and whatnot.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. What do you think, Voldy?
I think it's absurd. And I'm not even talking about the fact that, with the World Series and everything. Honestly, I think the whole series, it should just be flip-flopped. Like, one team gets last at bat in the first is in game 1. The other team gets in game 2 and just go back and forth. Obviously, that changes a lot of things. Not the traditional sense as well, but nothing about this year is traditional.
Yeah.
I also want to bring up the fact that the division series and the league championships are completely flipped around. You've got the American League Championship Series in a National League park, and you have the National League Championship in an American League park. What's that all about? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? So when it comes down to, say, in the American League Championship, you've got the Twins versus the Oakland A's for the AL pennant. You're playing in San Diego? What are you trying to do? Play it at American League ballpark. That's what they're designed for.
Sure.
And then when it comes to the Dodgers playing, the Braves for the NL title, they're playing it in Texas? Texas? It's ridiculous, but the whole format overall is completely insane. Is the 1 versus 8 seed and 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5? That's great. I just wish it would be the top 8 teams and not just, based off the fact like, okay, well, you got to get this one team. The American League Central is going to end up with 3 teams in the postseason. 3 out of 8 ain't bad in that sense, but there's a lot of things going on weird this year that I guess, weird sports is better than no sports, I guess. So
yeah.
It's still absurd in my mind, but I guess it's great. It's better than having nothing.
Yeah, and it's again, I feel like they're trying to make best of the situation, and even though again, people might not agree with it, but it's like, well, we're doing the best we can. Well, you could have done better when figuring out a deal with the Players Association and things like that. And obviously, we're happy that there's a season in general. So, again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I'm fine with it. I don't really have to say it's absurd, but could it be better? Sure. Voldy, I think your idea is 10 times better than what they had. So that's just what we're thinking. But, we'll see what happens. So, anyway, I think that will do it for Absurd or Approved. Great job, Voldy, with the stories. And, there's something behind you, I think. It's
oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I think that's next. I think it's, yeah, that's your face. So I know that we got to do this thing called Shield Shoutout. So let's get it rolling.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Voldy, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, got to give a special Shield shout out to somebody who's been a frequent contributor to the show and has been showing us a little love with his own program as well. Jack Kiesling with his own show, Jack's Junkyard, also on Facebook. Be sure to give him a like, a comment, and a follow as well. Author, he's a U.S. Army veteran as well. Overall, a great guy. He's got a great program. Check it out, Jack's Junkyard on Facebook. He's got some great, information out there. It's just, anything and everything you want to talk about, he will talk about it and bring it up as well. I mean, he's a great guy to talk to, loves his sports as much as possible. Probably heard that thunder boom in the background.
I heard that.
It is pouring over here right now, so I'm just glad we still have power right now. But be sure to check it out, Jack's Junkyard on Facebook. Next Shield shout out, we got to go to the Minnesota Twins clinching a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Beating the Chicago Cubs on Saturday 8-1 to clinch their postseason spot. Also winning on Sunday night for the first time in 10 years that they were on Sunday Night Baseball. Also winning by the score of 4-0, which they did 10 years prior as well.
Yeah.
That's some Illuminati type stuff right there. So big Shield shout out to the Minnesota Twins. Now let's just go ahead and not face the Yankees in the postseason. That would be fantastic.
Fingers crossed that they don't have to play them, but if they do, let's get ready. Like I said, so whatever. Next one, Voldy, as the Thunder Rumble song.
The whole apartment just shook. I'm not going to lie on that one.
Well, we better wrap up. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we better get things going here. Former Minnesota Twins manager Ron Gardenhire announces retirement effective immediately on Saturday. Was managing the Detroit Tigers. Did have a nice little spell there down in the desert in Arizona. So congratulations on a fantastic career. Hope he stays healthy as well. Ron Gardenhire. Gardy's always got a special place in Twins fans' hearts overall.
Gardy, I loved Gardy. I thought he was a great manager. And again, the thing is the poll ads never gave him what he needed, and which it frustrates me. But he made the best of what he had, and I really applaud Gardy for that. Wish him well in retirement. So, next one, Shield.
We got to give a Shield shout-out to Patriots fullback, New England Patriots fullback, Jacob Johnson, scoring his first NFL touchdown Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. And, fullbacks, a dying breed in the NFL, but the Patriots always in need of a fullback. And, well, Jacob Johnson was the recipient of a Cam Newton touchdown in his first career NFL touchdown, although a loss against Seattle as well. Not really mad about it. Really great team, really great performance overall, but luckily enough, some sort of good news out of that game overall.
100%. And it's I love fullbacks, and I miss fullbacks. And that's why we love C.J. Ham so much, is because there's so many great fullbacks. Jacob Johnson scoring his first NFL touchdown. You can't go wrong with that. So, anyway, last one, Voldy.
Yes, unfortunately, we do at the end Shield shout-outs, a bit of on a somber note today as well. Two legends in two different worlds, unfortunately, passed today. Former Chicago Bears halfback, running back, whatever you want to call him, a legend. Number 40, Gale Sayers, passed away today as well. One of the greats, and up there arguably is one of the greatest running backs of all time to put on the NFL uniform, and just so happened to be with the Chicago Bears. He passed away today, and unfortunately as well, the untimely passing of one of the greatest pro wrestling tag teams of all time. Whether you call them the Road Warriors, whether you call them the Legion of Doom, Road Warrior Animal, Joe Laurinaitis passed away today. A Minnesota guy through and through, father of former NFL linebacker, former Ohio State Buckeye, James Laurinaitis, unfortunately, Road Warrior Animal, passed away as well. So 2 legends in their own right, unfortunately, passed away today on this Wednesday, September 23rd.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I heard the Gale Sayers news, I just kind of immediately thought of my dad, or Papa Callahan, because he watched him play, and he was fantastic. And then the Road Warrior, I still check in with WWE sometimes, too, and obviously, the Road Warriors were fantastic, and Animal was a beast, and that tag team was hateful. So it's a bummer, and obviously rest in peace. And I agree with Jack here. My dad loves Sayers. Sad day, really sad day. Yeah, I mean 2020, like I've said before many times on the show, has been awful, and I really hope that things start looking. And there's been some positive things too. I mean MinneZona, MinneZona's been doing okay. Will that do it for Shield Shoutouts, Shield? Unless you got a surprise again.
That'll do it for Shield Shoutouts this week. No surprises this week. Knock it off! Yelling at the weather.
Yeah, the weather, is just messing with us. So, anyway, great job, Voldy, as always. So, a couple things. We've talked about this. People know what this is, and, We have shirts. We have MinneZona shirts. And you know what happens if you buy a MinneZona shirt? You help us keep our broadcast up here. This eCam stuff, the split screen with myself, the Shield. And we want to make sure that that we can keep giving you shows. So, hey, you talk to me, you talk to Shield, you talk to the Curve Doctor, you talk to Jimbo. Okay? We can get you set up. $20, $5 shipping. All that fun stuff. So, if you don't have your shirt yet, get a shirt. We got shirts. We got plenty of shirts. We got it. We just got it. So, anyway, and then, obviously, Q&A Thursdays. Okay, guess who's up this week? The Shield.
Me, right?
Yeah, that's you.
Cool.
Yep, it's you, the Shield. So, make sure you guys head over to Instagram and ask anything, sports, anything like that. Just remember, this is a PG show with a sprinkle of 13. We can maybe fit some R, but we got to watch what we say. Anyway, but yeah, Q&A Thursdays tomorrow. Voldy's up, and that'll be fun. And then, guys, check out W2 Performance. You know that guy, Will Rattel? He seems familiar. He's got a podcast. He just recently had a new podcast that he put out, and the podcast is called The Barbell Nerds. Okay, you got to check them out. They're doing a great job posting all their content. Will's been doing a great job with that as well, and I'm way R for that, as Jack is saying right now. Oh, we love it, Jack. We appreciate you. But anyway, yeah, I mean it's. Yeah, you got to check out W2 Performance. We have, we might have Will on again. You never know. I mean, we got to figure out to get him back on again, tell us the Matt Ryan story, etc., etc., etc. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, we appreciate you, Zona, for tuning in. Obviously, Matty C is kind of righting the ship for just main shows, things like that. But obviously, the Curve Doctor is still around. He's still helping us out with graphics. And obviously, for special occasions, he'll be, helping us out. He'll be doing the directing. I'll be back in the chair. But again, we're just kind of making it work. And obviously, I think the first show that we've had at the, I don't know, Grandview. I got to think of a name for it because you got Woods and Shores Studios. So I'm going to think of a name for Grandview Apartments or something like that. And it's going to be fantastic. I'm pretty stoked. Maybe the zoners can help me out too. So, but anyway, we'll be posting our picks tomorrow and things like that. So just be on the lookout, and we're going to have some more fun. So as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.